remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us.
Kousoku Sentai Turboranger!
Oh, what's up everyone? I'm the Kaiju no Kami, and today I'm going to be taking a look at 1989's Kousoku Sentai Turboranger, which was pretty much made due to the popularity of those little pocket racing cars that were out at the time. Given that Toei originally considered Battle Fever J to be the first Super Sentai series, Kousoku Sentai Turboranger kicked off its run with a non-canonical celebratory premiere that highlighted the previous 9 teams. It was a cool concept, though it could confuse some viewers as that means the show doesn't actually start until the 2nd episode, something that has never been done again since. While Toei would do something similar again years later in Time Ranger, they actually saved it for the final episode of Time Ranger and they just called it a special rather than making it an actual episode of the show compared to what they did here in Turboranger. Nevertheless, unlike the series done today, this episode is the only time you will ever hear about the previous teams, as the rest of the show plays itself pretty straightforward as a normal Sentai series. It's kind of nice given how over-the-top anniversary series have become these days, yet it might have also spiced things up given how little to nothing happens throughout the remaining 50 episodes. This would go on to be Soda's second to last Sentai series as head writer, and it was quite apparent he was starting to get bored with the franchise as this show excels at absolutely nothing. In fact, the biggest significance to Turboranger is that it is the first Super Sentai series to actually use the word Ranger in its title. So, what makes Turboranger so meh in my book? Let's check out the heroes to find out. The heroes. Turboranger is the first Super Sentai series to ever cast its heroes as high school students. Of course, you would never know it given how old they look. I really feel like this is a 21 Jump Street scenario where the Turborangers are just pretending to be high school students. I'm sorry to anyone that loves the show, but I just don't buy them as 18-year-olds. Granted, the Yellow Rangers actor, Junichiro Katagiri, was 18 when the show started filming. However, everyone else was 20, with Kenta Sato, the Red Ranger, being 22. I also want to mention that Kenta Sato is also the singer for the show's songs. It doesn't hurt that the characters themselves don't even act like normal high schoolers, rather the same type of adults every other team before them acted like. There's nothing that sets them apart from the likes of Bioman and Maskman. Even Liveman did a better job at making his cast feel like students compared to what Turboranger does. I really feel like the whole high school plotline was just tossed in to distinguish it from Soda's last several series, which also solidifies my belief that Soda wasn't giving this series his all. While Kenta and Mega Ranger did annoy me at times, especially in the beginning of the series, at least everyone acted like they were in high school. Here, they are just way too serious to be taken seriously, if that makes any sense. I could go on for a while as to why this decision does not work for me, but instead, I should focus on the characters themselves. To start, the basic plotline of Turboranger is that our heroes were bathed in the light of fairies when they were children. This meant they were given special abilities that would allow them to protect the world if the need should arise, utilizing fairy magic. At the start of the show, a fairy named Shiran gathers our quintet of students, Riki Hono, Daiichi Yamagata, Yohei Hama, Shunsuke Hino, and Haruna Morikawa, to protect the world from an evil empire that has reawakened thanks to the amount of waste that is polluting the environment.
なぜ今ボーマ100族が出てきたんですか？
人間が自然を破壊したからだ。の発達につれて人間は自然を破壊した。空も海も汚れ、緑も消えつつある。妖精が生きていけなくなったのと同じように。
Oh great. Another we suck as a race backdrop. Thankfully, they refrained from shoving this message down our throats after the initial batch of episodes. Shiran, played by Mayumi Omura, is the sole survivor of her race after a climactic battle occurred 20,000 years ago that saw their guardian beast, Rakia, turning himself into stone to seal away the Boma 100 tribes. Now that the Boma 100 tribes are freed, she requires the aid of the 5 aforementioned heroes, who don specialized suits created by a scientist named Dr. Dazai, played by Time Red's father, Fujita Okamoto. It's just a shame that Dazai has no development whatsoever as the show progresses, beyond him just being the scientist that creates their equipment. Even Dr. Yumino had some sort of backstory we learned about at the tail end of Dynaman, so having Dazai go through this entire show without a lick of it was extremely disappointing. As for our Ranger cast, they're not all that much better. For the most part, none of them really stand out from each other as they're all quite one-dimensional. I couldn't even remember their names, nor keep which one was which straight until I was in the late teens due to how bland they are. First, we have Riki, who is your typical optimistic Red Ranger. He's courageous and has a strong sense of right and wrong, except for when he's offered alcohol.
お詫びの印にワインでもお召し上がりください。
どうも。いただきます。
どうぞ。
Let kids drink.
Just like mom and dad.
He plays for his school's baseball team and hopes to one day be a professional baseball player. That's all there really is to him. He's the stereotypical Soda-era Red Ranger, except without any of the charisma that at least made Takeru, Yusuke, and Jin exciting to watch. Still, he does have the best fight in the show. On the other hand, we do get some bits of backstory for Yohei. Keiya Asakura portrays this playboy swimmer. He will go above and beyond the call of duty if a woman is involved, although part of this stems from a tragedy that occurred in his past. When he was a child, his best friend's parents mysteriously drowned in their house one night and she was taken away to live with her grandparents, leaving him saddened not only because he lost his friend, but also because there was nothing he could do for her.
大人たちは家の中で溺れ死ぬなんてたたりのせいだと噂し合った。
Thus, he now does anything he can for a woman, and if it leads to something bigger, that's an added bonus.
ハマのやつ中学の時からモテてたけど相変わらずすごいな。
Next up is Fumiyaki Ganaha's Daiichi. Daiichi is the second in command who keeps an open mind about anything, even willing to give the villains a chance at redemption if they so desire it.
俺にはあいつを殺すなんてできない。あいつは相撲を取りたかっただけなんだ。相撲が好きなだけじゃないか。
This does not mean the dude is naive, he just thinks outside the box more often than not. I will say that while there isn't a whole lot of development given to Daiichi, his intricate personality is enough for me to deem him my favorite of the team. He will never back away from a battle and is always willing to make whatever sacrifices necessary to save the day, even if it means repairing his own mecha while being assaulted by the villains at the same time. Oh, and it is quite hilarious to see his tan lines in one episode.
みんなも相撲やらないか。
Like with Yohei, we do learn a little bit about Shunsuke's childhood and his bravery when it came to protecting some random girl on a beach that was being bullied by a bunch of mean brats. Beyond this, most of the time Shunsuke is your typical ranger who likes to goof off more than take his job as world protector seriously. Except for that one time when we learned that his younger brother died in a hit-and-run accident. Damn. That tragedy led to one time when he was trying to help out a pair of brother monsters for he understood their pain. Nevertheless, outside of a few moments like this, Shunsuke is easily the class clown of the group. Lastly, we have Haruna, who is the smartest girl in school and clearly the most popular as she is also their student president. There's not much for Yoshiko Iwawa to work with as far as depth goes, but goddamn can that girl scream. Like holy shit. Anytime the Rangers are getting blown up and screaming, you can clearly hear Haruna. I haven't heard anyone scream like that since that Robot Chicken Gummy Bear skit. Oh, what it would be like to have that sound me to sleep each night. Haruna is also a fantastic actress, as we see in one episode when she tricks everyone into thinking she is turned evil.
今度こそターボレンジャーをひねりつぶし、ズルテン様に永遠の忠誠を誓います。
Too bad it was wasted on an episode that those of us that saw Old Ranger first knew exactly what was going to happen because that show did it too. One moment of hers I did like was towards the end of the series where she ended up having to beat a monster and pilot the mecha all on her own. And like with Maji Blue and Maji Ranger, she is also scared of frogs.
どうした？びっくりさせないでよ。なんだよ、こんなものぐらいでよ。
I am not a fan of the Ranger suits at all, as I think the T-shaped white that goes down the front of the suits is completely thrown off by the Turbo Ranger logo on the chest, along with the yellow borders on 4 of the 5 Rangers. The helmets are fine, while their weapons kinda suck in the design department. Riki's swords and Yohei's gun are fine, albeit generic at this point, while the weapons the others have are just terrible looking in my book. Shunsuke's crossbow is way too big, while Haruna's baton is utterly pointless. The bazooka they gain to finish off the monsters isn't anything to write home about either. I do like the exhaust pipes that stick out of it nonetheless. It was also neat to see what happens when someone without fairy power tries to transform using the Ranger's henshin bracelets. One final character worth mentioning is the Ranger's homeroom and math teacher, Misa Yamaguchi, played by Kyoko Takami.
まずは勉強態度から改めますからね。成績が元に戻るまでビシビシやりますからね。
Yamaguchi is very loudmouthed and has no qualms about yelling at any of her students if she sees them doing something reckless. At the same time, we come to learn in one episode that she begins to doubt herself when she realizes our 5 heroes have a secret they aren't willing to tell her, which upsets her as she believes it means she is failing as a teacher.
生徒が心を開いてくれない先生なんて、もう先生と言えないわ。
There is a moment when she gets turned into a child that reveals how rambunctious she was as a child too. We also get to meet her younger sister in one episode, a martial artist training in Hong Kong who is interestingly played by Ryo Hiroshima, who would go on to play Yellow 5 in Turbo Ranger's follow-up 5 Man. As a whole, Yamaguchi may actually be the most fleshed out character on the show, which is a shame considering she is a side character who doesn't even appear in every episode. There's also hints that she might actually have a crush on Dr. Dazai, despite nothing ever being resolved in that aspect. The villains. The villains are the Boom 100 tribe, and boy do they suck. They suck so badly that the generals are replaced halfway through the show. Oh my god. Here I thought Death Darkened Gogol 5 was bad, only to be rear-ended by this lame crock of crap. Where do I even start with these poor personifications of wickedness? Their leader is the Boma Emperor Ragorn, a creature who is practically a giant blob of over-design and cannot move. Ragorn! While I might not have been a fan of how Dr. Bias nor Zeba's final stories played out, they were at least light years better than this crapfest. He has no backstory at all beyond being sealed away 20,000 years ago for trying to conquer the world. I'm not saying he needs to be a sympathetic character or anything, but I at least want to know how he got to this point. Instead, there is nothing. His generals fare no better. There is Professor Leda, an old man with a shell head who is a total waste of Masashi Ishabashi's talent.
しかしターボレンジャーの若造が一人紛れ込んでおるぞ
Following him is the female of the team, Princess Jarman, played by porn star Kanako Kishi.
そこで私はミノカサボーマを蘇らせ人間どもを昔返しの術で昔へ返したのです
Next up is the samurai-looking Jimba, voiced by Seiichi Harai.
それは面白いことを聞いたぞ犬神ボーマ
Lastly, there is Zoltan. Zoltan is a cowardly sidekick who can transform into a bike and loves it when Jarman rides him. Ooh la la. You may recognize his voice as belonging to Hideyuki Imizu, who did Sleipnir and Maji Ranger, along with a wide array of anime roles that include Barry the Chopper in Fullmetal Alchemist and being the narrator in Death Note.
さあ幽霊ボンバー 閉じ込めた人間どもに復讐するのだ。
None of them have any sort of rivalry with a specific ranger as those from the last few series did. None of them do much of anything. They're just there to fill screen time. They at least try to develop Jinba in some aspect, even though they didn't really do much beyond just one little thing about him.
ジンバは太古の昔、愛する姫のため強大な敵と命を懸け、ジンバも傷つき、この5体はバラバラになり、ジンバは腐り果てて死んだ。以来ジンバは人間を襲い。
Ragorn could have just sent air down with his monsters and would have received the same results. If you ever want to see a pre-2000 Sentai series that has the very definition of uselessness, this is it. They are so bad that when a new villain shows up in episode 14, the half-human, half-Boma Yamimaru, he instantly becomes far more memorable than the trio combined. Yamimaru also ends up taking up more screen time from those losers for the remainder of their time on the show. It makes you wonder what their point even was. Did Soda intentionally make Jinba, Jarme, and Leda as lame as can be because he pre-planned to remove them by the halfway point? Or was this some last-minute decision because there was nothing he could do with them? Whatever the case may be, thank the gods for Yamimaru, as he is the only thing that makes the first half watchable. Hell, he is one of the two things that make the second half worth suffering through, with the second part being another half-human, half-Boma that is brought in by the name of Kirika. Wow. I just divulged a lot of information there, so let me back up a little bit. Episode 14 introduces a man who claims to be a wandering high school student named Hikaru Nagaraboshi, played by Yoshinori Tanaka in what appears to be his only acting role ever. It is soon revealed that he is a wandering Boma, which is the name given to those who are half human and half Boma, for they are too impure to be allowed to be integrated into the Boma tribe, but also too evil to be deemed a normal human. Thus, Yamimaru has spent centuries acting as a nomad, for he has no place to call his own. He has made his way back to Japan in order to destroy the Turbo Rangers and become a part of the Boma clan, or so he claims. Yamimaru also has the ability to whitewash the Rangers. Sometime after his introduction, we come to learn that one of the other students in Musashino Academy is also a wandering Boma, the shy Sayoko Tsukakage.
男の顔は履歴書。俺の顔に傷つけたやつは許さないぜ。
Those of you who have watched Die Ranger will be familiar with actress Masako Morishita, for she was Kujaku there. Sayoko takes up the name Kirika, and together with the help of Yamimaru, they become a thorn in the side to both the Turbo Rangers and Ragorn. They also unleash a flying dragon known as Dragulus. While the individual episodes themselves are still nothing to write home about, the show does go a tad uphill thanks to Yamimaru and Kirika, for they are actually competent villains with a lot of personality, and you do feel for them based on their past upbringings. It also makes the fight hard for the Rangers as they went to school with Kirika, so they want to restore her to who she used to be rather than look at her as a villain. And you know what also makes Yamimaru and Kirika way more villainous than our initial trio? They dance. Adding to the generic nature of the villains are the Grunts, known as Wulars. The only positive I really have about them is that they seem to be their own tribe of Boma citizens who serve Ragorn, and I do like that they have their own leader in an episode, who provides them with their own theme song. That was probably the most extraordinary thing the show did in its first quarter. The Boma Beasts are the name given to the show's Monsters of the Week. I will say there are a lot of really interesting designs given to this batch of creatures. Some of them look flat out scary and badass, as was the case with Ghost Boma, Bellchime Boma, who is voiced by the Japanese counterpart to Ash Ketchum in Pokemon, Rika Matsumoto.
一族の者はどうした？
ここだ。
は皆の者を解放してください。
Palm Tree Boma?
もっともっと仮面にして当店ポールに貼り付けろ。
And Reaper Boma.
いでよ死神ども。
Alternatively, we do have designs like this. Each monster is giganticized upon defeat by whichever general was the one who sent him out, which was a nice change of pace instead of seeing the same enlarging scene over repeatedly. The Mecha. There's only 3 mechs to talk about. Yes, I'm happy. The first and main mecha for the Rangers are 5 vehicles that merge together to form Turbo Robo. This is compiled of a race car, wagon, jeep, buggy, and truck. I can't exactly say Turbo Robo wows me at all in the design department, yet the way the feet and legs combine remind me of Dairuger 15, so I'm okay with it. Plus, the mech battles aren't all that impressive, so there's really not much reason to get worked up over such mediocre designs. Most battles seem to be like 30 seconds long, rendering them kinda pointless.
What the hell?
As with the last 2 Sentai series, there is a second mech introduced in the show, this time a ship that transforms into a robot called Turbo Rugger, who loves to kick off with a football attack. Turbo Rugger can combine with Turbo Robo to form Super Turbo Robo. Halfway through the show, Dazai's lab is attacked, requiring him to move their main base of operations to a large mech-like city known as Turbo Builder. I'm seriously having mixed thoughts between Micro Machines and Metroplex right now.
These playsets fit together to form a Micro Machine world. Micro Machine pocket playsets, so tremendously tiny, so perfectly precise, so dazzlingly detailed, you'll want to pocket them all. Micro Machines and Micro Machine pocket playsets sold separately from Galoob. The smaller they are, the better they are.
Turbo Builder has a robot mode, which is used like 3 times in the entire show, that can also host Super Turbo Robo inside of it for a final attack. I like the concept behind Turbo Builder, just not the execution, especially with how useless it was. Although, upon thinking about it, it was nice that it wasn't used in every episode. It's just I don't really see the point beyond, hey kids, buy this toy! Which is probably really all that it was there for. Still. The effects and music. Okay, you pretty much know what to expect in the effects department, but did you know that composer Akihiko Yoshida recycled his Zyuranger score for this? Okay. Obviously, Zyuranger came after Turboranger, so technically Yoshida recycled his Turboranger score for Zyuranger. Well, kind of. Only a couple tracks from Zyuranger were taken from Turboranger. Regardless, every time I heard this piece of music, I wished I was watching Zyuranger instead. With that said, the music in Turboranger is quite good and one of the better aspects about the show. There are some truly outstanding pieces to be found here, all of which do help you get through the monotony. I wish I could say the same for the opening and ending themes, which are as bland as the show's cast. The opening hardly puts me into the mood of the show, while its ending counterpart, Zigzag, Seishun Road, is one of the most forgettable ending songs of the franchise. Jeez, I have a hard time even remembering what the song was just mere minutes after I heard it. That's how bad it is. Yep, already forgotten. Now on to the effects side of things. Like I said in the beginning, there's not much really to talk about here. None of that gliding panoramic camera I love from Soda's earlier shows is present at all. Most of what we get is just standard shots with an occasional atmospheric environment to enhance the situation. I guess I should just be happy there was nothing I found to be mind-blowingly bad in an epic fail sort of way with this one. The problem is, not even the fight choreography wowed me either, with most of the battles just feeling less than stellar. The battles in this show suck. But then again, this whole show just sucks. I'm sorry for those that love this show, but I'm not sorry. The episodes. For a show as uninspiring as Turboranger is, I actually did have a couple of contenders for being my favorite episode. I was quite amazed. The one about Yohei's childhood friend was a dark and depressingly intriguing one. Then we had Yamimaru's introduction. Nevertheless, the one I liked the most was episode 22's Road of Youth. In Road of Youth, Yamimaru is terrorizing youngsters by trying to run them over with his motorcycle. This pisses Riki off so much that he takes the attacks personally and tries to stop him. We've got two cool chase scenes, one with good music. A badass looking Bulma beast. Some development for Yamaguchi.
初めての教え子を事故で死なせてしまったの。若い命が消えた時、私は教え子の暴走を止められなかった自分の未熟さが無性に悔しかった。
And the first of two moments where I thought of Twisted Metal. As for the worst episode of the series, for all the bad I found in this show, it doesn't get any worse than Zoltan's hidden technique. In this episode, Zoltan... No. I can't explain it to you. I cannot explain to you why this episode is bad. It is just gross. Instead, I'll just let you see a little tidbit of why this episode is horrible. Ugh. This can give the bedwetting episode of Ultraman Ace a run for its money in terrible. Fuck. The movie. Okay. Yes, there's a movie. There's only one movie, because that's what they were doing at the time, and the movie takes place at the beginning of the show. It's not special, and very confusing. The god of the Boma tribe, Boma Beast, Boma Deity, is set free upon the world and the Rangers have to stop him.
不死身の邪神ボーマが蘇るのですか
Wait. If he's the god of the Boma tribe, how can he be a Boma beast? What came first? The Boma beast or the Boma deity? I have got to know. As I was saying, the movie's nothing special and more like a regular episode of the show. We do get a cool buggy fight between Red and the villains. Overall, Turbo Ranger is not a terrible show. Turbo Ranger is not a horrifying show. Okay, f it. Turbo Ranger flat out sucks. The only reason I'm going to give this show a generous 2 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex is because of Yamimaru, Kiraka, and the Boma Beast designs. Had it not been for any of those, this show would have been dreadful to sit through, and unless you must see every Sentai show imaginable, there is no reason to sit through this one bit. Granted, it's not the worst Sentai series out there. I mean, there's still Goanger and Ninninger. So yeah, there's that. Until next time, bye.